In this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to do a perfect low bar squat. So let's begin. So the first thing you should know, it's a low bar squat, not a high bar squat, and not a front squat, because these mechanics, these movements are slightly different. Originally, a low bar squat was popularized by Westside Method or Elite Fitness Systems. Now in that, it was geared powerlifting. And no, I'm not talking about steroids. The guys were obviously freakishly strong, but they would lift with mechanics that had gear on them. So they would use suits. Now that squat, it was very, very, very wide, and often the guys would have to push back very, very aggressively just to lower themselves to get into position. Now, on the rise in more recent time, there's been raw lifters, or at least lifters who are using just sleeves and maybe some wraps and a belt, which is classified as raw lifting. And the way someone gets into that is very, very different than what was originally popularized by Westside Method. It's not as wide, and definitely you don't sit back as much. So the perfect squat mechanic for a low bar squat, and the reason why a low bar squat is mechanically advantaged is really because where the bar positions. From a center of mass perspective, it is closer to the center of mass, aka your core, whereas the high bar is further up and is going to have a bit more of a knee flexion. So the perfect low bar is going to be a hybrid of extending out through the hips and also pushing out through the knees. And this is where I like the wall squat, which you might have seen in previous videos that I've done, to create that position where you're up nice and tall. So just to go through the mechanics before I approach the bar, we want to have our ribs stacked on top of our pelvis, up nice and tall. We don't want to be like crouched down, up nice and tall. And as we're moving, we're going to stick out our butt and our knees at the same time. One of my cues, really like this cue from Steffi Cohn, who's one of the greatest powerlifters, well, definitely one of the greatest female powerlifters, if not one of the greatest powerlifters of all time. She says, you want to pull out your hips, imagine there's a rope around your hips and a rope around your knees, and those ropes are moving at the same time, right? So that is what it would look like. So now let's approach the bar and look at what that looks like. Now, obviously, as you add weight to the bar, the mechanics are going to change. I'm just demonstrating with an empty bar today. So when we grab the bar, we don't want to bring our hands, one of the axioms is go as close as shoulder mobility allows. Don't really like that cue, because for those who have really great shoulder mobility like myself, you can get into excessive thoracic extension, which actually isn't helpful, right? You want to grab the bar where you can pull the bar down and feel. So in other words, if I was going to put the bar on my back, where am I going to feel strongest if someone was going to try and take it off my back, right? So it's not right up here, right, because I'm going to get into that excessive thoracic extension. It's a little bit further out. So the way I like to do it is get my thumbs, place them on the knurling, and that's about the right spacing. Otherwise, you can just simply, for me, because I've got, again, the shoulder mobility, I can just use the lines, and that's a pretty good position for my hand position when using. But again, fundamentals, and I do see this done wrong often, is that people just grab the bar wherever. And that's, again, you want to have some rituals in approaching and grabbing the bar. So I'm grabbing the bar, same position each time. Then as I go, this isn't a high bar. If I was high bar, I'd be putting the bar here. I'm going to be pulling everything back and just putting it in the low bar position, which, as you can see, is just about there. That's kind of, this is super low. There where my traps, there's a lot of meat, I can feel that, and I can just lift up. Now, again, if I'm using a lot of weight, I'm going to use some breathing exercises and some techniques. So I'm going to be breathing into my upper back. As you can see, everything expands, and then I lift off. Again, because it's just a bar, it's not as important, but good habits are very, very important. Now I'm in this position. Now you're probably asking, my feet are a little bit turned out. Yes, I personally don't squat. I don't like the way it feels with perfectly straight feet. So it is acceptable to have your feet turned out slightly. What that also allows your hips to open, which will allow for a better position. Now, there are trade-offs with that. Obviously, this will make me tighter, but this feels more comfortable. So there's two levers you can look at. One is optimal and one is comfort, right? So I'm kind of in the middle of optimal and comfort. So again, I'm in this position, stratus anterior, my ribs are stacked over my pelvis. I'm not starting like this, right? You can see my hips are tucked under. Now I'm gonna breathe into my upper back, breaking through the knees, breaking through the hips at the same time. And this is where I stop and back up, right? So what I don't want is to get to this position, right? You can see in this position, even though I've got the range of motion, my back has lost tension. I'm now using passive structures rather than active structures to keep this. So I'm gonna stay, if I'm gonna keep everything in a passive structure and protect myself, use that breath, get that brace, that's it. That's where I wanna stop and back up, right? So I'll do it slowly. There. So in this position, I can really feel my glutes are on. Again, the key there is I'm not relying on passive mobility. In this case, this is my passive mobility to help myself up. Because all I'm going to create is shifting load through my lower back and lumbar and getting that butt wink, which again is not the end of the world, but it's certainly not ideal. I want to make sure when I'm squatting, everything is super tight, everything is switched on. If you've enjoyed this video or have questions about your low bar squat, make sure you leave a comment below. Let me know what you want to see. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up.